I gotta show you all how Trump may have botched his tariff stunt with a single Truth Social post. We have an article from The Atlantic that says, Trump has already botched his own bad tariff plan. And this article breaks down how Trump basically contradicted his own administration only hours after they released a statement, and now no other countries have any reason to, number one, take us seriously, or number two, ever trust us again. Why would the US ever be a trustworthy ally on the global stage again when we basically just upended the entire order for no reason? What would stop Trump from doing that again in 3 years if he decides that he's not happy? Why would any country cut a deal with us? But we'll break that down in 1 second. I do want to show you what Trump's posted on Truth Social just over the past 15 minutes. He's posted 3 different times. In one video that he posted is so offensively economically illiterate that I thought it would be fun to break it down. Now, I don't have an econ degree. I took a break from college a year ago, and even I can break down this video that the President of the United States just posted. So, first he posted 15 minutes ago, Mark Levin on trade with China tonight on Fox News at 8. Nobody's watching that, bro. Then he said, we need tariffs on China. Gordon Chang. Nobody cares, again. And then he posted this video. This video really got me. Let me click on it. So this video is titled, Trump is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. And Trump posted the same video about 3 days ago, but apparently he found it so important that he wanted to repost it. Now let me remind you before I even play this video, it would be responsible of me to remind you that everything said in this video is a lie. Even the quotes attributed to Warren Buffett are a complete lie. Then we'll break down why it's a lie. Then I'll show you how he botched his tariff plan. Check this out.
Trump is crashing the stock market by 20% this month, but he's doing it on purpose. And this is why Warren Buffett just said Trump is making the best economic moves he's seen in over 50 years.
I'm sorry, I gotta pause right there. Warren Buffett never said that. I did a bunch of research the other day. Warren Buffett never said anything of the sort. He actually thinks tariffs are basically a war. It's like declaring war.
Now here's the secret game he's playing, and it could make you rich. So why is he doing this? To push cash into treasuries, which forces the Fed to slash interest rates in May, and those lower rates give the Fed the ability to refinance trillions of debt very inexpensively. It also weakens the dollar and drops mortgage rates. Now it's a wild chess move, but it's working.
It is not working, and it is a wild chess move. Trump took a gamble with a 10% chance of working and a 90% chance of failure, and basically said, here, the burden is on you, the American people who voted for me, to lower prices. But really quickly, let me debunk a few things. First of all, Warren Buffett didn't say that. Secondly, the Federal Reserve is independent and reacts to inflation and unemployment as main indicators, not the stock market. Rate cuts, for example, usually happen when economic data shows the economy slowing or some sort of downturn, not just because equities dip or the S&P 500 crashes. So what he did was recklessly crash the market for basically zero reason with tariffs and increase our chance of a recession, basically double our chance of a recession. It's not some strategic rate cut. He's creating a crisis. But the scariest thing is, Trump reposted this. Again, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of how everything works, including US debt. Most US debt is already short-term and rolls over constantly through Treasury auctions. So you're not just going to be able to refinance the US debt like a mortgage, but I digress. This isn't even the most important part of the video. I do want to break down this article that reads, Trump has already botched his own bad tariff plan. Once you've said you might negotiate, nobody is going to believe you when you change your mind and say you'll never negotiate. And this article really digs into the core of why this tariff plan is botched. There are many reasons we can go over. We can talk about Trump's lack of understanding of tariffs, of reshoring manufacturing, of negotiation, all of these things, but this is a good start. Donald Trump had a plan. It was not a good plan or even a plausible one, but it was at least a coherent plan. By imposing large trade barriers on the entire world, he would create an incentive for American business to manufacture and grow all the goods the country previously imported. Now, there's also an article I read that says Trump wanted to hold something called the Mar-a-Lago Accord. And this makes so much damn sense when you think about it. All Trump wants to do is be a part of the history books in some way. So he's trying to recreate some of the accords that have happened in the 40s and in 1985 and hold his own Mar-a-Lago Accord. And he was going to bring in all of the world leaders that he wants to trade with and basically restructure how the US is treated on the global stage, as if we're being ripped off, like he says. So he did have this weird end goal of a Mar-a-Lago Accord. He still has the end goal. He thinks it's possible. And I guess there's like a 2% chance of there being a Mar-a-Lago Accord, but as it stands right now, he basically just triggered a recession. Whatever chance this plan had to succeed is already over. The key to making it work was to convince businesses that the new arrangement is durable. Now listen to this. Nobody is going to invest in building new factories in the United States to create goods that until last week could be imported more cheaply unless they are 100% certain that the tariffs making the domestic version more competitive will stay in place, right? Trump's aides grasp that dynamic. Quote, "This is the great onshoring, the great reshoring of American jobs and wealth," said Stephen Miller on Liberation Day. The White House then circulated talking points instructing its surrogates not to call the tariffs a leverage play to make deals, but to say it's a permanent new feature. So they were acting as if the tariffs were permanent, and that gives them ultimately the leverage. But not everybody got the idea. Eric Trump tweeted, quote, "I wouldn't want to be the last country that tries to negotiate a trade deal with real Donald Trump. The first to negotiate will win. The last will absolutely lose." Eric's father apparently didn't get the memo either. Asked by reporters whether he planned to negotiate the tariff rates, the president said, "The tariffs give us great power to negotiate. They always have." So how do you botch the tariff plan before it even happens? Someone seems to have then told Trump that this stance would paralyze business investment because he reversed course immediately on Truth Social, which gave away the whole game within one day. Quote, "To the many investors coming into the United States and investing massive amounts of money, my policies will never change." He gives it away right there. He said hours after claiming the tariffs give us power to negotiate and eventually reach a deal, hours later, he says, "My policies will never change." However, there is a principle at work here that many, many respected economists call no backsies. Just kidding. People don't call it that, but no backsies. Once you say you might negotiate the tariffs, nobody is going to believe you when you change your mind and say that you'll never negotiate. Indeed, precisely 2 hours and 17 minutes after insisting that his policies would never change, Trump returned to Truth Social to announce excitedly that the policies were going to change. Quote, "Just had a very productive call to Lam, General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, who told me that Vietnam wants to cut their tariffs down to zero and blah, blah, blah. I thanked him and we said we're going to make an agreement." So boom, the possibility remains that Trump will revert to insisting that the tariffs are permanent. But dude, you already blew up your entire plan. You botched your entire plan. To be sure, signaling openness to negotiation on tariffs is also a plan, but it's a very different plan to execute than attracting massive investment into domestic production. They are trying to execute multiple plans at once, and they are beginning to mesh, meaning that Trump is getting us ever closer to a recession. And again, can I just say, Trump took a huge gamble with this, and the gamble has, what did I say, a 2% chance of paying off? That might even be generous. It might be like a 0.5% chance. There's no way to stick the landing when you've become an unreliable partner on the global stage, right? What country is going to want to go to the Mar-a-Lago Accord when the guy who runs Mar-a-Lago isn't even trustworthy? Trump's strategy should rely on not convincing businesses that Trump is completely serious, but instead on making other world leaders believe that Trump is willing to endure fantastic amounts of economic pain in order to gain bargaining leverage. Quote, "Sometimes the best strategy in a negotiation is convincing the other side that you're crazy," said Bill Ackman on X, which in and of itself is just so dumb. It's like, yeah, the way I negotiated with the car salesman is I put a gun to my head and said that I'll kill myself if he doesn't give me a deed. I know that that's a little bit of an extreme analogy, but that's kind of what Trump's doing with the entire economy. Could it work? Like the original plan, this is not a good one by any means. And again, it's a completely different plan than Trump started the day off with yesterday. By the end of the day, he had an entirely different plan that they were aiming for. And apparently, he didn't even know the tariff rates hours before giving the Liberation Day speech at Rose Garden. So in the hours leading up to that, he was still figuring out what the tariffs would look like, which is terrifying and shows that is all incoherent. I'll leave it at that. Make sure you drop a like. Make sure you subscribe. Can I point out that we are in the top 10 fastest growing YouTube channels because of you all. We are beating Charlie Kirk. We are beating Tucker Carlson, beating Megyn Kelly. Now Joe Rogan is a little bit above us. Make sure you scroll down and tap that subscribe button. It's free, and maybe we'll beat Joe Rogan in the second quarter. We also see MeidasTouch, which is amazing. They're always in #1. We see MSNBC. It would be nice to beat MSNBC. That would be amazing. We see friend of the show, Brian Tyler Cohen. He's killing it out there. So make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.